Welcome to an Aries and Pisces walk into a coffee shop, the podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Bridget, she, her.
And I'm Tiffany, she, her. This is a podcast where two friends let go of perfectionism and talk unedited. Hello.
Hello. It's a pleasure to see you today.
It is good to see you.
I'm
I wish
digging
I
your...
could bring you here, though, because while it's cold, it is sunny.
Yeah, that would be nice. We've had like glimpses of sun today, and I thought like, oh, it's coming out, it's coming out. But then it kept like going.
Yeah, springtime. What
Yay.
a treat.
What a treat. Indeed. I'll tell you, I do have a treat though. After like I don't know how much time it's been. I'm gonna say a month. Maybe it's been more. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to put birdseed out because of our rodent issue in the backyard.
Yeah.
And we finally determined that the one kind of rodent that we were trying to get to move out has moved out. So I got to put birdseed out again yesterday.
Exciting.
Yeah, and the cardinal was already here this morning a few times, and my little chickadee was here,
Oh.
and I was just so delighted. I was sitting here working, and I heard the little song, and I was like, "Oh my God." And I looked out the window, and it was just sitting on top and singing its little song, and I was like, "Thank you so much for coming back." I got a little worried that like they weren't going to come back.
Oh, no.
Like that like the restaurant had been closed down for too long, so they like moved along to bigger and better things. But I'm delighted that at least it came back. So I think that this week maybe I'm gonna go back outside and try to see if I can catch one in my hand with a little seed. Feed it from my hand,
Oh, it'd
not
be so
catch one. I'm not
special.
trying to like catch the birds, right? Just
Right. You just want it to land on your
disclaimer.
hand and
Yeah.
eat out of your palm.
Yes, I just want to say hello.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been monitoring the bird feeder I have out on the balcony. I told you about the squirrel scaling the building
Yeah.
to get to it, and I haven't seen him since. But looking at that feeder, I'm pretty
Mm,
sure that squirrel's been making frequent visits because
mm.
I've been watching a lot of birds eat a lot of feed over the last, a little over a week. And then within like 2 days, I was like, wow, a lot of it's gone. Seems suspicious.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
was a bigger mess than usual out there. So I think he was just really clawing it out, packing it in, taking off. So I'm not sure what to do about that. Because you would think being on the sixth floor, not near any trees, would do the trick. That's not the case. So
Mm,
I don't really want to feed squirrels. That wasn't the idea.
yeah. Um, well, I hope that it all gets figured out. I did also over the winter realize how much I think our chipmunk eats the seed, like how much seed it actually takes. Because over the winter, I feel like we had like a very steady flow of birds, just like all the time.
Hmm.
And I was putting out way less seed than I put out in the summer.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, Chippy eats or takes. He takes it,
Yeah,
right?
probably
Takes and
takes it.
stores it. Yeah. The majority of our seed. The majority.
Those gritty chippies.
I'm like, listen, I'm growing you like tomatoes and shit. You've got like all this other stuff. Like, let the birds have their seed, you know?
Yeah, you're nicer to your residents than me. I normally just say the squirrels have the dumpsters. Like, why are they still on my balcony?
Yeah. They're running around with their baguettes.
Yep. And burritos. Yeah.
Ridiculous. I have seen or I had words. We were looking at a different kind of a feeder that is like based on weight. Did I tell you about these? That's
No,
like
I don't think so.
if a squirrel jumps on, it like
Too
closes.
heavy.
Yeah. Um, so we were looking at something like that. We don't get a lot of squirrels though, but I think that probably Chippy is still within the weight range
Yeah,
of the
probably.
birds. I don't
I
think
will say
Chippy's.
though, I don't think Chippy probably wouldn't be able to do this, but my parents got one of those because they have a lot of squirrels.
Mm,
They have a whole ecosystem in their tree, and squirrels are a big part of it. And they got a feeder that was not only weighted, but like hung way far out from any branches.
mm,
And I watched a squirrel scale down the tiny wire and then figure out very acrobatically how to flip the whole top of the lid off, which was supposed to be squirrel proof. It was supposed to like interlock, and then
uh-huh,
like it has like a big dome so that they're supposed to like not like feel safe to like jump on it because it's like a shape where they could slide off. So it was like squirrel proof because it had a locking lid that was shaped so that they wouldn't be able to sit on it. And then if they did get on the little bars where the doors are, they would close. No, he got the lid. I don't figured out how to get it twisted up and off and like went into the feeder and then
wow.
figured out how to scramble up and over and like scale the wire again. I watched him do it. It was wild.
I guess like at that point, I'm like, okay, you deserve like you earned it. Like okay. If you could get through all of that, like fine, take some seed.
Which is funny because like he lives in an oak tree. He went through
Maybe
that much trouble to get the bird feed when he literally lives in an oak tree.
just wanted the challenge.
I guess, maybe. Like looking at like his friends being like, watch this.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah, let's see if I can do it. They made a bet. They're over there like placing their bets.
Yeah.
They are fun to watch, like climb up and down things. Like they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
Um,
Spectacular.
yeah, we just saw one. We drove through this, what do I want to call it? I was gonna say like a medical park. I don't know. A whole bunch of like medical buildings, and then there's a whole
Oh,
bunch of
mhm.
like parking lot, but then there's some like green space, and there are a couple retaining ponds, and that's where like a lot of geese hang out. So we went driving through there yesterday to look for geese babies to see if we could find any babies. Um, but we saw a squirrel around like we were coming around this one bend and there's this squirrel just sitting there on the curb, like sitting like upright,
Mhm.
still as can be, like a little tiny squirrel statue. And we're like,
Oh.
excuse me, like what are you doing? Because we're about to like come up to the stop sign where like the curb is that it's just sitting on. I'm like, please don't run in front of my car, like what are you doing? It's just still as can be the whole time. And then we got up there and then it just started like flop running off and then just
Right.
like jumped onto a tree and like ran up. Like it's like you're so good at what you do, like that's incredible.
The athleticism.
Yeah.
Have you
um
ever seen a squirrel walk?
Uh, not that
Like
I
just
can,
like walk.
not that I can think of. No, they like, I just see them like run jump.
Yeah, I've seen them walk. It looks ridiculous. It looks unreal. It's so silly.
Now you know what I'm gonna do after this.
What?
I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go on YouTube and search for
Uh,
squirrels walking.
I hope you do. It looks so silly and unnatural.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
All right, report back. Let me know.
I will. Um, we were also not disappointed. We saw so many goose babies,
Oh,
just like so many of them, and different like packs of them. I don't know what you call it, different like geese families, I guess, like in like different areas of this whole big
I
thing that
normally
we
just call
drove.
them a gaggle, and I don't know where I got that, but like
I
a
think it's
gaggle
a
of
yeah,
geese always made me laugh.
yeah.
Is
I
it a
think that's what
real
it's called.
thing?
I think
Is
so.
it? Okay.
Yeah,
It's
I was
just so
gonna
many
say.
geese, and it
Yeah,
makes me smile.
I don't know like at what point it is a gaggle, but I'm thinking like it. So mostly what we're seeing is like the goose couple, like the two
Yep.
big adult geese, and then all the little babies. I don't know, do you call that a gaggle of geese, or is it when it's like
I would, but I don't know if that's official. I'm not a scientist.
a sign? Yeah. And then we also saw one where it was one adult goose that was like babysitting. There were so many babies.
Oh.
And then there were like more adults like around. And then as we like drove around to see them from like the other side of this pond, um, we noticed like the other adults. So then there were like four adults and a whole bunch of babies.
Hmm.
We're like, how do you know whose babies are whose?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that. Because you always see those animal videos where, like, the odd couple adoptions, where it's just like one species adopts another species
Mm.
as if they can't tell or don't seem to care that it's not the right shape, smell, color, size. But when they're all together like that, do they just not care? And they're just like,
I
well, I feel
wonder.
like they have to know somehow.
I said I think that they know, but I also think that like they're cool all hanging out together.
Yeah, I
But
like the idea of commune parenting.
yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it, but like if you're gonna do the parenting thing, I feel like that's the way to go.
Yeah.
The whole it takes a village thing.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, because mainly I wouldn't want to parent because there's no village to help.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if I need to lay down?
Right? I'm sorry. Our society isn't set up for that.
Yeah, the whole laying down, I'm
Yeah.
noticing. I'm
Yeah.
not a fan.
Whether you have a children or not, a children, a children. Ah, heck. Oh my God.
Yeah, the
Um,
Mercury retrograde vibes are strong.
okay, one more rodent story,
Yeah,
and then I have something else I want to share with you.
okay.
But one more. So you know my long-standing uh feud with the groundhogs?
Yes.
Okay, so the other day my car light came on, the check engine light,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, what the fuck? Okay. So I took it into the shop and I already like I needed an oil change, a tire rotation, like all that stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and this is a good opportunity to get it all done
Yeah, great job.
all at once. So I wasn't like that felt okay, this feels like a little celebration. That because I was kind of dreading having to
Mm.
take it in and do the whole oil change thing. And this was like a very easy, like my car needs to go in now. So I don't even have to like think about it. I'm just adding the oil change on.
Yep.
So I guess if anything, I'm not going to say thank you to the groundhog. Um, I took my car in, and you know what they told me?
Oh no.
That I had wire damage, that a rodent had chewed through all my wires, and it cost $400 to
Oh.
fix it. And I was like, these motherfucking groundhogs, they have just like started to cause us so much stress. And now I'm like, okay, now it's starting to be like big money stress
Uh-huh.
on top of already having to like make all these changes in our backyard. I've had to completely get rid of my compost bin, which I'm pissed about. We had to make like this gate for the deck. I've had to do
Yep.
like so much for these groundhogs. And now like I'm like, oh great, now I can't park in my driveway because like
Yep.
we see them run under my car, and like that's where they like run across the field is where I park essentially.
Right.
And so I'm like, great, now I don't feel safe to park in my driveway. Like, what am I gonna like?
Like you're
Uh,
just going to be in the street now, hoping that they
yes,
don't shoot your wires. That's ridiculous.
right. Yeah. So I'm parked in the street, and
Oh
um, yeah. So we did submit something to the condo association, and I have the unit next door. I was talking to her. She also submitted a complaint because she has now they're living behind her unit.
no. Yeah.
So hopefully they do something. I don't know. I we did say in our complaint like that we prefer this to be handled humanely,
Right.
but like once it's out of our hands, I'm not sure like what we can control that they do, but I at
Right.
least was like I have to say that out loud in a
Yeah.
message. Right. Yeah.
I know what you meant.
Yeah. So that was just like it felt like, well, I was thinking that it was big, like Mercury retrograde. My car is falling apart. I'm thinking, like, my car is getting very old and it's like time, it's probably like its time is running out. And I was so like stressed and worried about that. But then when I got
Yeah.
the call that they were like, it's the groundhogs, I was like, motherfucker. Well, at least my car is
Hmm.
like still fine. Like he's like everything checked out
Oh.
great. So
Hmm.
it was kind of like on one hand, like um relieving news
What a
in
up
a
and
weird.
down whirlwind. Like you went through all of the scenarios and emotions. There's so many layers here.
Yeah. It's been a time lately.
Oh, I hate that that happened, but also I'm glad that you had a little bit of relief in at least one area. It's like, here's something you didn't know you had to worry about, but that other worry that you've been worrying about, it's all right to let that go a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, hell, being a human's hard.
It is. I was like, and then my mom, thankfully, like she's, we live nearby each other, and she
Mm.
was carting me around, like doing all
Oh,
my
that's nice.
errands and stuff. I was like, thank you so much. She took me to like drop my car off, pick it up, all that stuff, and I was like, wow, like being an adult is so hard. And it was like that felt like a kind of strange and funny thing to say out loud to my mom.
Yeah. You're like, you know about it, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm pretty sure but I feel like that was like the first, no, it couldn't have been I don't know. Anyway, it felt like a moment of
Yeah.
like, I'm saying this out loud to my mom. Like, here we
Just
are, two adults, just
adulting.
adulting.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is strange. Like those little moments of, oh, I'm an adult alongside my adult parent. Because I've definitely had little pockets of that. And it is kind of jarring
Hmm.
to have that perspective um, validated of like,
Mm.
oh, I'm an adult now. Like this parent figure isn't the adult I thought they were with. I didn't know what adulting was.
Right.
So bizarre.
It is bizarre. Life is something else.
It sure is. You said you had something else that you wanted to share with me too.
Yeah, I wrote it down so that
Oh,
I didn't
smart.
forget. Um, it happened this morning while I was journaling,
Mm,
like many things do. They come to me. I was I wrote down a lot here. I'm not going to read this out loud. It was about like the concept of confidence and fearlessness,
hmm
and how like for so many years now I've been doing what feels like chasing after feeling confident
Right.
and feeling like I have like no self-confidence, no self-belief, no self-trust, no like self-esteem garbage, like all this stuff. Great. Um but I've really been working on it like over the past few years.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was almost like holding it up on some like pedestal of like other people have confidence.
Uh,
Other people have this self-belief and self-trust and right all that stuff and
mm-hmm.
like they know how to do it and I don't. Like they've got
Yep.
something that like that I don't have and I'm trying to aspire to some big like level in the clouds of like once I have that confidence then I'll feel
Mm.
successful. Then I'll feel like I can, do what I want or
It's
live
a
the way
fix
I want
all.
to live. Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like once I have this big confidence that other people have, like then I'll be okay, right?
Yep.
Like I realized that I was doing that and where the like fearless part came into it was I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking of like I've been thinking a lot lately about the like well when I'm feeling anxiety or fear or nervous like I can still do the thing anyway, like that can just like come along with me. And that like really came in a big way in when I did that belly dance yoga reiki like weekend workshop
Ooh,
in
yes.
Pittsburgh, New Year's 2020. And I
Wild.
can't even. Yeah. And the theme of it was to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Right.
And so that was like revolutionary for me in my brain of like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, we feel the fear, it's happening. That's like a real human thing. Everyone
Yep.
feels it. It's there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say like, I don't need to get rid of you. I can accept that you're here. Get in the back seat. You're not driving. I'm driving. And
Yes.
we're going along the way. Like you like cool. That to me was like huge. So I've been thinking about that and I kind of like paired these two together
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, well, if I can feel like afraid of something or like anxious or nervous about doing something or asking for something, I feel like that kind of pairs with that, like, oh, maybe I'm not feeling that confident in myself. I'm not feeling like, I believe that I can ask for this thing or I believe that
Mm-hmm.
I have this skill or can do it. And I was like, well, what if I doubted myself and I just did the thing anyway?
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, so what if this confidence doesn't really matter? I was like, what if it's not this big thing that I have to like aspire to? Like,
Right.
what if I can just like be like, okay, I'm doubting myself, but I'm going to try anyway and see what happens.
Yep.
And as I do each thing, as I keep practicing that, like, it's just going to keep getting easier and easier.
Yes.
And I don't actually have to aspire to be some super like confident person. I can just be me and be like, yeah, I can do the things and I'm going to keep learning how to do them. And that blew my brain out today.
It's a perspective shift because I
I felt,
think the piece of like, oh, and then it's going to fix everything. Like, it's
mm-hmm,
so interesting how our brains grab onto a concept that says, then I'll achieve the thing and never have to do the spiral staircase of learning again, which is just never the case, no
yeah,
matter what.
yeah. And I thought that, like, yeah, I thought that I was like missing something. I thought, like, I felt like
Mhm.
I was being held back because I did it because I wasn't confident. I didn't have that confidence. So I felt very like just like held back and like stuck where I am, you know?
Right. I mean, it makes, excuse me, that makes complete sense because we talked about this before, like the idea of looking on the outside in. Like you project what you are perceiving and you make up your story about it. So, like, you see people doing these things seemingly confidently, but like inside, people are scared all the time. I found out. by
Yeah.
asking them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was like such a relief that, oh, people are just doing it scared. And
Yeah.
I often would hold myself to that same unattainable standard of like, even when I did really hard things, I wouldn't give myself credit for them because they were hard, because I had a hard time doing it and it wasn't easy, which is so funny because you would think that should give me more credit, but it doesn't. It cancels it out where it's like, wow, that was super difficult for me. I should have been able to do it in a more easeful way, and thus I'm a
Mhm.
failure. Even though I did
I yes, because yes, that's
it.
exactly uh my brain and my experience.
Uh-huh.
It's wild. It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think an extra layer of this, I just remembered, this must have been like another piece in my bringing me to this moment to today, discovering it. But I was on Instagram and watching, I'm probably going to get this wrong because I literally
Mhm.
just learned about it. Vogue Femme Vogue.
Go on.
Like it's like dancing. I don't know if it's,
Oh, okay. Vogue dancing?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a specific line of it like femme, I
Okay.
guess, with very like mm, I only looked into it a little bit, but like
Yep.
specific like hand movements and arm movements.
Yeah.
And the person's account who I was just like watching them, I posted one of their videos and I was like, "Oh my god, vibes." Like I can't remember their name right now, but it was something that they said in one of their captions about that uh like having to like portray or like embody the confidence in this style of performance to
Mm-hmm.
like perform it in a way that is what it is. And I was like, oh shit, like they're just another human being. Like
Mm-hmm.
what, like because when you see this dance, this like performance, it's like, oh my god, that is like confidence level of 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it was so like attractive to me.
Right.
And to read that that person is like learning how to do this and they are practicing getting up there and
Yeah.
performing it in that way of like, oh, this isn't something that just comes natural to this person,
Right.
right? They're like, I have to embody this archetype. I have to put on this character when I go to do this performance. And I'm like, holy shit. Huh, we're all literally the same. Like we're all
Yes.
humans. We're all feeling like the same things. But yeah, like you said, we're all like looking at other people and thinking like, oh, they've got it all figured out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're so much further along than me. Like that's why
Yeah.
they're successful and I'm not. Like, because they've got something else figured out. Well, maybe it's just that they're just practicing. They're just,
Yep.
allowing themselves to learn how to be.
I think about that a lot with the belly dancers that I've had the privilege of getting to know, or even some of the more well-known dancers that are like professionally teaching and touring, and they will pull back like the vulnerability curtain and be like,
Mm.
my stage fright is so bad every time I go to do a performance. Sometimes I think about throwing myself down the stairs and getting injured so I don't have to do it. And I'm like,
Wow.
wait.
Uh,
We're like taking a class with this like renowned dancer and then like doing the tongue twister thing where like nothing's coming out right. And they have to be like, sorry, reset. I don't, humaning. It's just like so humbling to be like, oh, right. Like no one just has this figured out all the time.
no.
We're just going through it and we all have our own like standards was another one. Like there's like a
Mhm.
dancer that I was talking to that would like went on maternity leave, but they never left. Like they danced all through pregnancy and after, and like they're posting these like vulnerable like practice videos talking about how much like range of motion they lost or stamina. But the videos are stunning, like absolutely gorgeous, just like so soothing to watch. They look like so in control of their body, but they know the difference
Mm.
now
Yeah.
before and then after. And I'm like, oh, isn't that so fascinating? How we're all just like this.
I we are. It's bizarre. It's bonkers. I we're all just we're all just humans.
Yeah, and have no idea how we're being perceived. Like over the weekend, I was at a burlesque event and there was a newer person that's like just coming into the burlesque scene. And we were at a performance and there was another burlesque performer there, like as an audience member. And when the newer person found out that they were there, they got so excited because, like, this is like celebrity to them, where they're like, oh my God, who's here? Like, can you introduce me? So thrilled. And like, someone went over and like introduced this newer person to this burlesque performer. And that performer was gobsmacked that like someone knew who she was without having like met before. It was just like all like, what is happening? But like she performs like all around the city and like she's like getting all these shows and she's like super talented and amazing and people talk about it online. And then it was like shocking to her that someone that's interested in burlesque knew who she was. And I'm just like, aren't we all just doing the thing?
We
Best way
are.
we know how.
We're all just fumbling about.
Not knowing how we're perceived or who's noticing what. It is just so fascinating that and humbling because there's
Mm.
people that I've admired so much and for them just to be like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm making it up and I don't know what's going on. I'm like, thank goodness. Okay, me too.
Thank God, me too. Yeah. Yeah. Um, mm, yeah, I feel like with this today, uh, like I unlocked a new level, like
Mm.
of like letting go.
Oh, yeah. That's
Like,
nice to have that like shift
yeah,
feeling.
yeah. And I was also thinking about it of like I don't have to like do anything extra
Mm.
to
Hmm.
like right to like get this like confidence or whatever it is like I don't it's just gonna happen naturally as I'm like going after the things that I want or like pursuing the things that I'm interested in like I'm just gonna naturally keep building my confidence like
Yeah, it's like building up the muscle, they say.
yeah
Just the more you do it,
like we were just
small.
talking about the other day of like I'm not gonna start going to the gym to get better at like aerial.
Yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
gonna
That's
just
right.
maybe practice aerial more because like I'm not a gym
Hmm.
person.
Same.
Yeah, that's it. You said that and I was like, "Oh my God, that's so right." Because I've also had those thoughts of like, "Oh yeah, I should start like lifting. I should start doing this so I can get better at aerial." Well, Bridget,
Hmm.
what if you just did aerial more
Hmm.
and see how that goes instead of
Yeah.
putting all of these like stories and things in your head of like, "Oh, you're not that good because like because you don't go to the gym and work." Or right? Or like it's like, "Oh, this stuff's harder for you because you don't do all this other stuff." Well, if I spent like less energy worrying about the things that I don't do that I feel like I should do or need to do or that other people are doing and I just like
Hmm.
did what I wanted to and let that be okay.
Yes. I think that, um, sorry, I'm chasing a thread that jogged my memory about something that my physical therapist was saying about how he works with a lot of people who are gym folks. They're lifters. They're like, that's that's their sport. Their sport is lifting. And he was telling me how when you are doing it, not necessarily even improperly, but like unbalanced, that he'll
Mhm.
have these people come in, mostly men. These men come in like, with like shoulder injuries or like things like that they need to rehab. And he's like, and they lift, they have good form, like they have a lot of muscle mass, and then they get this like slight injury and they're like, trying to rehab and they've ignored all these like tinier muscles, or maybe they have been doing something just slightly unbalanced for a long period of time, not realizing. And he's like,
Mm.
so he was teaching me this one motion to rehab my shoulders because I have a lot of upper body stuff. And I was doing it on like the easiest level to like test out my range of motion and things. And I was like, wow, this is like wildly challenging. And I was kind of feeling a way about it because it seems simple when you're like
Mhm.
looking at it. It looks like you're just moving your arm around. And
Mhm.
I was like, wow, this is really hard. And so he started telling me about the men at the gym because he's like, I have these men that are like weightlifters. They have records and they can't do this
Mm.
because they ignored these muscles. They weren't doing what they needed to strengthen, like, joints and
Mhm.
connector muscles. Like they were looking for certain results and they got those, and then thus a shoulder
Mhm.
injury. It was like, oh, right. Like incremental, tiny things. Like you, the gym people don't have it figured out. Like
Yeah.
they're not at the gym being able to get better at a bunch of other stuff because of the gym. Like, not,
Right.
it's like a societal thing, like doing things the right way, quote unquote. And there is no right way.
Right. Right.
And yet my brain keeps on trying to find one.
Oh my God, I know. Same. It's exhausting.
It really is. Yeah, it really, really is like that idea of, well, and it's also a way, oh, it's kind of like a protective mechanism a little bit too, like twofold. Like it's blaming you for like not doing something you should have been doing, whatever that means. So like this false sense of control that if you were just able to
Mm.
do X, Y, and Z, then you could do the other thing you actually want to do. But at the
Mhm.
same time, kind of preventing you from doing the thing you want, maybe
Mhm.
as a way to protect you from, I don't know, having to be a beginner again.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's definitely a hard thing. Yeah.
Because I've been thinking about that a lot in the sense of, especially when it comes to your body. Your body is forever changing. And I think my self-esteem got really hit when my body continued to change and I just wanted to do things the same way.
Mhm.
And that wasn't working anymore. And then I got frustrated and kind of got it in my head that like, oh, I'm just not going to be able to do things anymore because I have to do them differently. I didn't know that's what
Mhm.
I was thinking, but I've like
Uh-huh.
started to unravel over the years where I'm like, oh, right. And
Mhm.
physical therapy a couple of weeks ago like really blew that open for me because we were talking about all the same things, like the repetition and adjusting. And one of the things that we're working on right now is some core stuff I have because I have some misalignment with like how my ribs and pelvis are sitting. And I just all of a sudden got like washed with this deep shame that that's like a problem for me now because I used to
Mm.
be really good at that because of belly dance and yoga and doing aerial. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I had like those things went away slowly and surely, especially through the pandemic, like the rigor and the practice and having someone else give me feedback. Because with
Mhm.
my scoliosis, I can't feel my
Mhm.
alignment the same way because every day is a little different. One muscle will be tighter one day. And so I feel like I'm in alignment,
Mm.
but really I'm not because the muscle tone is just changed. So I have to like be more mindful and switch it up. And I was really surprised because like I know that logically. I think I've said that to other people. But it like surprised me all of a sudden where I was like, "Oh, I haven't been doing that for myself, allowing myself to just do things differently and adjust day to
Mhm.
day." Which is like so funny because that's what my whole yoga practice like had been about for my whole life, and then I lost
Mhm.
the thread along the way
Mhm.
and stopped like being compassionate and allowing my body to kind of like lead how we need to change things up.
Mhm.
Bodies.
You're doing a good job. I would say that we're both doing an excellent job.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah. mean, because I have the same exact thing. Like, whereas I used to go to Ariel, I mean, how many times a week? At
Mm-hmm.
least, I'm gonna say at least 3 times,
Right.
plus a mat class, probably plus at least like one belly dance class. And fast forward how many years and a pandemic, and now I'm like, how much of that am I actually doing? So when I do jump on my aerial rig, I'm like, oh my God, like this is so hard. My body hurts so bad. Like I'm not doing an hour and 15 minutes. Like, and
Yep.
just, yeah, giving myself that compassion of like, okay, Bridget, well, you're not doing it on that like regular kind of a schedule like you were how many years ago, also.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what if you did just allow yourself to do 15 minutes and do right or
Right.
like and get back into it? But yeah, I definitely found myself feeling very bad about not being able to just do exactly what I used to be able to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a fucking trip.
It is. And isn't it interesting too to think about every once in a while, I'll get it reflected back to me through someone else that the, well, the same thing like I was talking about with that belly dancer, like talking about how like she could tell the before and after, but like looking at it, you're like, wow, it's all great.
Hmm.
And I had a little moment of that for myself where I've been feeling really guilty about my dance practice and feeling really self-conscious because a lot of hip movements that used to be easier for me are a lot harder now, and I have to be way more mindful. And part of that is what you were talking about, like the working back up, but also it's just I think I might just have to do things slightly differently now because again, how many years ago versus
Hmm.
now, and not only aging, but my scoliosis has changed over the years as well, on top of being older. And then I had a performance in the burlesque community where it's not belly dance focused, but there was a part of the choreo that had a hip movement that was like a Maya, like in belly dance. And I had multiple people like come up and compliment me and tell me they could tell I had belly dance training because
Oh.
of my Maya. And I was just like, and I internally was like, wow, this is harder than it used to be. My range of motion isn't feeling the way it used to. And then I had all these people point out what they were seeing that I was actively saying to myself that I had like lost or didn't have anymore. And I was just like, oh hell.
Look at me and my brain doing it again.
We're just doing it again. Fascinating.
Well, that's another just going right back to the beginning point of like life and just like all of life should be in like it takes a village. You
Yeah.
know, we can't like live on our own. Look at what we do to ourselves in our heads. Like we got to have community.
Yes.
Like I think that's another excellent like bullet point. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Uh
Like a highlight
example.
of it.
Yeah, well, like an example of like why we need each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The community aspect is really helpful, which is why I like talking to you so much.
I Me too.
So
That's it.
illuminating.
Yes, yes. I always love these conversations. That's why we're here.
That is why we're here. Just to
That's why
reflect
we're
back
doing
at
what we're
each other
doing.
forever and always giving reminders.
Ugh, I love you so much.
I love you so much.